On this episode of Just Informed Talk, Q's latest new post discussed the fake news optics behind the blue wave and voter irregularities, plus more placeholders from Q. And after cooperating with special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation, Dr. Jerome Corsi tells ABC News, quote, "I'm going to jail for the rest of my life for cooperating with them." Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to Just Informed Talk. For those of you who don't know, I always like to say thank you to everybody who's hit that subscribe button. You guys are what make this channel possible. If you haven't done it already, please come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications to be notified when these videos get posted. So, today we're going to start right here. These are the latest new Q posts. If you guys want to get caught up on the latest new Q posts, as I always say, I encourage you to come back here to the landing page, and I want you to check out these videos. Watch these last few videos if you want to get caught up on the latest new Q posts and you're scratching your head going, what's QAnon? I really encourage you to come here and watch this video, which is explaining everything that QAnon and the Great Awakening basically is, and gives you great insight into where to find the information, how to do the research, and so on. So if you guys want to, you can come check that out. Now, today's latest new posts are pretty short and sweet. There's not much here, but we're going to talk about some pretty crazy stories. You're going to want to stick around because we're not just going to cover these latest new Q posts. There's some stuff coming out in the news that we're going to want to look at as well, as I mentioned before, especially with Dr. Jerome Corsi and what's going on there. So the first thing that we can see here, just jumping right into it, is what we have been getting in the last few posts from Q. So as you can see, we're getting these posts that are basically these placeholders. And as I said in the last video, the way I read these placeholders is, if you know what a placeholder is, it's something that you put in temporarily to hold the place of something that is going to be known at a later date, or revealed at a later date, or inserted at a later date. So what Q's basically telling us when I read through all these yesterday was that these are placeholders for things that are yet to come. Now we're gonna have to wait and see how that all pans out. But today, the latest new post, the first one where we're going to start, which is 2489, are more placeholders. And this time, Q is telling us about the Office of Inspector General's report and findings. Now, there's a lot to take away from this. As we all know, the original findings from the executive, or the Office of Inspector General's report, which was a review of various actions by the Federal Bureau of Investigation and Department of Justice in advance of the 2016 election. This is the at this point now pretty well-known Inspector General's report, which actually outlines what happened with the Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's emails and use of a private email server, and it goes into all of the irregularities that led up to the election, with the handling by the FBI and the DOJ being scrutinized in this report, which was produced by Michael Horowitz and his staff over at the Office of Inspector General's staff office, whatever, in the DOJ. So they got this report out there. We've gone over this report a bunch of times. It's 500 pages. There's so much in there. And a lot of the media report when this came out basically said, Michael Horowitz said nothing happened and there was no impropriety. But that's not really what was said here. What was really basically revealed through this report was that there were a lot of irregularities, and that there was a lot of issues with the way that the investigation into her emails was handled. There was a lot of issues with the way the FBI handled disseminating information previous to the election, and there was a lot of issues with the Department of Justice and their handling. So we're not going to go through each one of those details here in this video. If you guys want, I'll leave you a link in the description if you want to check out this document. But what I think Q is giving us an insight to, and we'll read through these, right? So it's saying, we'll read through Q's post right now. It says, placeholder, Office of Inspector General and report and findings. Placeholder, Office of Inspector General report, FBI, DOJ, and media collusion. It says, placeholder, Office of Inspector General report, executive branch, ABCs, and media collusion. Placeholder, Office of Inspector General report, foreign assistance, and D1. So I'm not sure what D1 is. I don't know why there's a couple here I'm not sure of yet. You guys can let me know down in the comments what they're actually meaning or standing for there. The next one is Office of Inspector General of Foreign Inserts. And then another one I'm not sure on is O record and info dissemination. I think that this is dissemination. And it says placeholder, Office of Inspector General report, FISA abuse, direct, indirect source. I want to say that's disinfo. And then the next one is Office of Inspector General report, umbrella spy and targeting, and then Office of Inspector General report, OTR_C. Again, another one I'm not really fully aware of what this is meaning. I would really appreciate you guys help us all out. We can go down there in the comments after this, and if you guys have any thoughts on what these 3 ones are referring to, the D1, the OREC, and the OTR_C_. These ones I would like to know. I'm sure you guys can help me out down in the comments. But what I thought was very interesting is when you go to the Office of Inspector General's, basically, this is their ongoing work at the U.S. Department of Justice. So you can go here to this website, which is oig.justice.gov, and you can see all their reports. And this includes the report that I just showed you, the original one from June from the Office of Inspector General. But when you look at their ongoing work, they give you these little readouts on stuff that's ongoing. And the one thing that I thought was very interesting was this one right here, right? And we'll read it. It says, the examination of the department's and the FBI's compliance with legal requirements and policies and applications filed with the United States Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court related to a certain U.S. person. I wonder who that certain U.S. person could be. Donald Trump. It says, the Office of Inspector General, in response to requests from the Attorney General and members of Congress, is examining the department's and the FBI's compliance with legal requirements and with applicable DOJ and FBI policies and procedures in applications filed with the U.S. Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court relating to a certain U.S. person. As part of this examination, the Office of Inspector General is also reviewing information that was known to the DOJ and the FBI at the time the applications were filed from or about an alleged FBI confidential source. Additionally, the OIG is reviewing the DOJ's and FBI's relationship and communications with the alleged source as they relate to the FISA court, or the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, applications. If circumstances warrant, the OIG will consider including other issues that may arise during the course of the review. Now, that is probably the most important sentence of this whole explanation, this whole little blurb that's explaining what they're doing in their ongoing work, investigations. It says they will consider including other issues that may arise during the course of this review. Now, what is this talking about? Because it's written in a way that you wouldn't be able to actually, it's not direct. It's not saying it's about President Trump, but it's implicating it to me that the FISA court is being investigated by the Office of Inspector General's office with relation to what happened at the FBI and the DOJ when they went and requested this FISA surveillance warrant. Now, the one I think that they're talking about here is the George Papadopoulos one that went into getting the surveillance warrant to spy on him, which through umbrella collection, as Q pointed out, is how they got the president, him and Carter Page and others who were basically put into these categories and then spied on by the United States government. This is why the OIG is inspecting it, because you have basically sources coming to the FBI and the DOJ, giving them information that they knew was unverified. Then they presented that unverified information to the FISA court in order to get the surveillance warrant, while at the same time withholding information that would, and this is according to a lot of different congressmen and top officials, they were withholding information that completely contradicted the validity of the initial evidence they presented to the FISA court in order to obtain the search warrant, or to obtain the surveillance warrants. Now, this is what we're talking about when we're talking about the illegal spying on the president. And we do have an ongoing work, or have ongoing work happening at the Office of Inspector General, which is looking into this very issue. And I think that's what this whole post here from Q is talking about. Now, that's to say that this ongoing work is going to be uncovering basically what has happened. And who knows how long this has been going on. I think this is one of the things that was being worked on behind the scenes while Jeff Sessions was there in office. And now that Matthew Whitaker has stepped in, it makes perfect sense to suspect that now we're going to actually have this stuff uncovered. There's going to be a new report that's going to have even more details that talk directly about George Papadopoulos, that talk directly about Carter Page and the FISA court abuse that was alleged to have happened when obtaining surveillance warrants on the campaign of Donald Trump, and then even spying on the president after he became the president of the United States. So, or at least the president-elect, I should say. So, guys, this is what we're dealing with. This is what we're up against. And it's quite unfortunate that we have to go down this full, long path, but it's the way our government works. It's the way accountability works. It's the way that the oversight works. We have to do these long reviews and investigations that end up giving these recommendations and giving these observations so that Congress can do something. Now, there was a few posts that I want to talk about from Serial Brain 2 that talk about this directly. So let's just take a minute and look at let's look at a post from Serial Brain 2 over here on the vote board. This one is "Let the Unsealing Begin." I'll leave a link to this one down in the description if you guys want to go read it. But let's just read this little excerpt that I want to talk about. And this talks about Whitaker, Gowdy, and Goodlatte and how that all is going to play out. And I think this is very insightful. So he says right here, now that that's out of the way, let's take a close look at other things. So I told you in my previous post how the maestro skillfully let Dems invest billions of dollars in the midterms to win the House and ended up with an empty shell. I also told you that Gowdy and Goodlatte were in the know. Then Q gratified us with Q2888, which links to this article where we learn Gowdy and Ratcliffe are considered to be potential picks for the AG position. In the meantime, the current acting AG, Whitaker, is being attacked for having made statements in the past that Democrats wrongly considered to justify his recusal from the Mueller probe. Do you see it? Do you now see why Gowdy made statements that made him appear as he was supporting Mueller against Trump, causing many excellent Trump supporters to think he was disloyal? These statements were well positioned on the political credit timeline so that in due course they would be spent to shut down any criticism from the Dems regarding Gowdy's ability to be an impartial AG. And then Serial Brain gives us these 3 Q posts, which are Q1656, make no mistake, Rep. Gowdy is a patriot, Q. And then again, Q537, trust Sessions, and Q537, what role might Trey Gowdy be walking into? So, of course, Q's been alluding to the fact that Representative Trey Gowdy will be taking that position over. Now, this part is important, too. It says, these last 2 drops informed us as early as in January of 2018 that the plan all along was to get Sessions to progress as far as his recusal allowed him to by stealthily, I think that's right, coaching the sealed indictments, Huber and Horowitz, while Gowdy with Goodlatte was taking the House investigations to the 10-yard line. Then, when it would be time to move from the investigation phase to the justice phase, Sessions would gracefully let Gowdy replace him while all the investigation paperwork would migrate to Grassley's desk in the Senate. Brilliant. And that is brilliant. Like, think about that. What Serial Brain's trying to say in this part of the post here is exactly what we've been talking about, how bringing in Whitaker, he's going to start getting rid of people. The whole thing was to put Jeff Sessions in a stealth mode so he could get all of these sealed indictments built up and he could get all of that ready to be passed on to Chuck Grassley in the Senate, where he'll be still the head now with another majority in the Senate, the head of that committee and able to actually take action, as opposed to the House, which is going to turn into a circus. Yes, it's going to turn into a nightmare. And how do I know that? Well, that would be just easy. All you have to do is look at a report that just came out of Axios, where the Democrats are already suggesting they have over 85 targets for subpoena that are related to Trump as soon as they take over control in the House in January. Now, as I said, guys, the House is going to become a circus. All you have to do is look at the top House officials on the Democrat side and their rhetoric coming out now that they know they're in power against President Trump, and how it has completely just blown up, where they're going to just come hardcore after President Trump. But I think they're neglecting to take into account what happened during the Justice Kavanaugh. When you use these subpoenas to target individuals, you're going to end up basically biting yourself in the you-know-what. And that is what's going to happen here. So, but 85 potential subpoenas, and they called it the subpoena cannon. And it's just a joke, but it's what the House is going to become over the next 2 years. It's going to be a circus with the House Democrats running around subpoenaing every single person they can get their hands or get to come and testify, so that they can just basically stall and delay until 2020, with the hopes that President Trump loses and that they can retake the House or retake the Senate. So this is what's coming down the pipeline here, and I think that's what Q's giving us an insight into. Now, going forward into the next one, it says fake news optics, false majority, blue wave. Blue wave optics, no voter irregularities, nothing to see here. Fake news, voter irregularities, conspiracy, Q. So, I mean, guys, this is pretty straightforward, but obviously what Q is saying here is the fake news, the optics of it, is that the false majority exists, that it's a blue wave now because Kristen Sinema won in Arizona after, thousands of votes just pop up days after the election, and that, something's coming out of these recounts in Florida where you've seen just, I've never seen this kind of lack of transparency that is actually happening in Florida as we speak now. And it's quite disturbing. But like I said, guys, I know Broward County, and it's not surprising for 1 minute. That being said, I think that Q's basically telling us here that the optics that are being presented to us are meant to draw us away from the fact that there are so many voting irregularities that are happening. I mean, there are laws that have been broke. There are lawsuits that have been filed and won by Republicans basically stating that the handling of vote counting in certain counties has been completely illegal. And it's crazy to think about how many thousands of votes have been turning up days after the election. Now, even President Trump doesn't agree with this, because if you go to his Twitter, he's tweeted out that the Florida election should be called in favor of Rick Scott and Ron DeSantis, and that large numbers of new ballots showed up out of nowhere. Many ballots are missing or forged. An honest vote count is no longer possible. Ballots massively infected must go with election night. To which all these other left-wing Democrats are saying, we have to count every vote, we have to count every vote. Well, the law stipulates that there are deadlines for counting votes. You can't just have vote counting go on forever and just have, hey, we just keep finding thousands and thousands of new votes in back rooms and cars and, hey, whatever. But there is something really, really wrong with the election system down there in Florida. And hopefully, even if all of this keeps going, we will prevail. We will prevail by winning the election fairly. And it should be called. I agree with President Trump on this. And I think that agreeing with the President of the United States is not a bad thing. Although, if you watch the news, they'll tell you that it is, right? And there's so many stories out there that are coming out talking about, Andrew Gillum here saying that you better count every vote. Yeah, I'm sure he wants to count every vote because he fully realizes that what's going on may actually lead to him becoming the governor of Florida. But the reality is that these votes should not be counted if they are provisionally cast, or if they're not able to be validated in their validity or to be corroborated, basically, as the president says, that they are forged or missing. That's really what it is. And then, so Andrew Gillum, of course, he's in favor of that. And then you have this story coming out from Laura Loomer, where she's talking about they found provisional ballot boxes inside of Avis rental car at Fort Lauderdale Airport. Literally, they found just a random box of ballots sitting around, because these people, to me, have obviously displayed a lack of intention to follow the law as it is written. So we're going to have to keep up on this. And that's what Q, I think, is getting at with this whole optics presentation from the fake news and the left-wing liberals when it comes to telling us that there's this blue wave and that there's nothing to see here with voter irregularities. We just have to count every vote and trust that this lady Snipes down in, Broward is just doing a completely ethical and good job. But when in reality, there's a history of malfeasance, and now we're seeing it again. And they're breaking the law that has been categorically settled by a court of law. But nobody seems to change anything, and they still aren't releasing any information. And we're going to have to wait and see what these recounts end up showing. So, and then the fake news also puts it out that if we challenge the fact that there are voter irregularities, like we come out and say that there is voter irregularities, it's automatically labeled a conspiracy, because obviously it's a conspiracy, right? There's nothing to see here, guys. There's absolutely nothing to see here. There's no voter irregularities. It's totally normal. It was a close election. They found thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of ballots after the deadlines to turn in ballots happened, and they just so happened to be like a high majority voting Democrat, and they happened to completely sway the election and push it into a recount. So that's just nothing to see here, guys. Ignore this, right? Never happened. Okay, so that's that. Now, this is the other story I wanted to talk about today, and this is talking about the fact that Jerome Corsi has come out after being interviewed by the Robert Mueller special counsel probe. He went and sat down behind closed doors and gave testimony to them. And now, according to this report from ABC, he's quoted as telling the ABC News that he says, here's the quote. It says, "I don't know what they're going to charge me with," said Jerome Corsi, who until recently served as Washington, D.C. bureau chief for the controversial far-right media outlet InfoWars, in an interview with ABC News on Monday. But he says, quote, "I think my only crime was that I support Donald Trump. That's my crime, and now I'm going to prison for the rest of my life for cooperating with them," he later added. Now, the article goes on to talk about Roger Stone and how everybody's basically coming in under scrutiny by the Mueller probe. And you could even go down a little further in this article, which I'll leave a link to if you guys want to read it, in the description, where basically Corsi described, here's a quote from the article. It says, "Corsi described his experience with the investigation as a horror show and a nightmare, telling ABC News the special counsel's probe is an inquisition worthy of the KGB or the Gestapo." He says, I quote, "I feel like I've been through an interrogation session in North Korea in the Korean War." So this is Jerome Corsi's own words. He's very, very upset and rattled. Now, Q has spoken about Jerome Corsi in the past. As you guys will remember, actually we have this post. It's Q Post 2104 from September 6th of 2018. So this wasn't long ago. It was a couple months ago, where Q basically says to an anon who's pointing to Free Speech Systems, which is InfoWars basically, that Q responds by saying, giving this picture of Jerome Corsi meeting with, among others, Mel Rockefeller and others, and Q says, follow the picture, and gives us this quote from an article which says, quote, "Jerome Corsi, who I outed as a Mossad asset agent in the 1997 sting operation in London, Corsi and Piper Jaffray broker Brad Admonson were integral to a fraud that took Minnesota investors for $1 million that the FBI refused to properly investigate. Instead, agents sought to portray me as responsible. Corsi is named as the author of several best-selling Israeli PSYOPs books, including Unfit for Command, Atomic Iran, Minutemen, The Abomination." Q. So Q is pointing us to the fact that this article says that they were able to out Jerome Corsi as an alleged Mossad or Israeli intelligence agent. So that's where that's coming from. Maybe those are some of the questions that Robert Mueller was asking of him. And, who knows where this is going to turn. I can tell you right now, we're going to have Matthew Whitaker, the new acting attorney general, having more oversight over the Mueller investigation. So we're going to see if this is allowed to continue or if this leads to something that we really need to know. I don't know where this is going to lead. I just thought that it was an interesting story that just came out where Jerome Corsi is alluding to the fact that he thinks he may be going to prison for the rest of his life for giving his interview with the special counsel investigation. So that's just something to note. And if you guys have any thoughts on that, I'd love to hear your take down in the comments. Please leave your thoughts on that, and we can have a discussion about that. So a few other things before we sign off here. First of all, if you guys want to help out the channel, obviously the best way to do it is come here, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications. And stick around for a minute because I'm going to address something that's kind of important for all of you guys to hear. Another way you can help out is to watch these last few videos, share them on your social media, get that information out there. That helps out the channel more than you guys will ever know, and I'm very thankful and appreciative to every one of you who do that. Another way you can help out the channel would be just to come over here. It's pretty easy. Just come over here and find me on Twitter at Justin_formed. Again, that's at Justin_formed on Twitter, or search Justin Formed Talk. And when you find this official Twitter page, you can come give me a follow, and you get all my cool tweets. All the YouTube videos get posted here, and a lot of other stuff that's cool gets posted here as well. So come here and check this out if you would like. Now, another couple ways you can help out the channel are financially. And one is Patreon. That's patreon.com. You just go to that website and then you click the search bar, type in Just Informed Talk, come to this page, click this button, become a patron. It's a monthly donation. And in the face of all the demonetization, you guys help fund this operation, keep it going 24/7, 365, so that I can bring the information to you and we can continue to put it out there for everyone to see. Now, you guys are what help support and keep this channel alive, and I want to tell you how thankful I am for your support in that. Now, another way you can help out the channel, if you don't want to do the whole monthly donation thing, is to come over here to GoFundMe. It's gofundme.com/just-informed. The link will be in the description. Click the donate now button. It's a one-time donation, and you can even make it anonymously if you want to help fund the work here. Now, one more thing I want to talk about is the American Priority Conference. Yes, it is coming up. If you are going to be in Washington, D.C. on December 6th through 8th this year, as in next month, you need to come here to the website, AmericanPriority.com, and you need to register, get your ticket, and come check it out. Basically, all you do is you click this button, register today. It'll ask you what kind of ticket you want, and then when you select that ticket, you can come here, you can fill out all your personal information, get the ticket, and also don't forget to use the discount code where we go one, we go all, because that'll give you 5% off your ticket. Now, this conference is going to be great. There's going to be a lot of people there that are going to have a lot of different opinions. Now, it's not going to be an echo chamber. There's going to be a lot of people who disagree. There's going to be a lot of people there who don't believe in QAnon. But that is not the point. The point is to go and have a conversation. And I can totally understand the frustration. I actually feel the same way. Actually, people have been writing me on Twitter about Jordan Sather and Dustin Emos basically being, I guess, disinvited from the conference because the powers that be seem to basically be set on not having Q mentioned at this conference. Now, that is a sad state. I don't blame, though, the people who are producing this conference. You guys got to trust me when I say that these people have the best intentions you could ever imagine. They're doing their best to bring together different viewpoints and to bring together different people to have a discussion that really talks about how important free speech and free association is. It just is kind of ironic that this would happen. Now, with that being said, obviously, if you guys want to go support them, I encourage you to come over here and find Dustin Emos on YouTube. His channel's Dustin Emos 2, and you can also support Jordan Sather over at just Destroying the Illusion. So, but back to the conference. I mean, you guys, if you're going to be in DC, it's all the more reason to show up. It's all the more reason to show up with, and support basically free speech by coming, getting a ticket, go to the conference, ask questions. There's going to be a lot of audience interaction. There's going to be a lot of panel discussions where they're going to ask the audience questions. And if you're there in the audience, you can ask questions. They can't stop you from doing that. So if you want to get a question out about Q or anything else, you can go do that. And if you guys want to come hear me speak and give my take on what's going on, you're definitely going to hear a lot of interesting stuff, although I'm not going to get ahead of that right now. But like I said, come here, click here, register, get involved. If you're going to be in DC December 6th through 8th, it's a great cause, and I encourage you to come and check it out. So with that being said, there's the final thing, the most important thing to talk about here, and of course, that is God's grace and how it is truly greater. And for that, I want to share this verse out of Philippians. It's chapter 2, verses 12 through 18, and it talks about being a light in the world. And I say this a lot, you want God to come into your heart and to light that fire so that you can shine that light out to the world, and then you can light a fire in other people's hearts. And when you do that, you spread this great good news and this great message, and you spread the great blessings of our Lord and Savior, and you can help people to find God again. And that's one of the things I take the most pleasure in, is helping others come back to God who have been away for a while, who may have wandered off the path and weren't sure how to come back, and were never really pushed by culture or the mainstream media or TV or radio or anything to come back to God. They've missed that opportunity, or that encouragement that should be out there but is not enough. So when I talk about that too, it's like, it's not just me. It's a great pleasure for me, but I know it's a great pleasure for all of you out there, and you can do it. All you have to do is do little things. Tell people, say, hey, God bless you. Or when you're out to dinner with your family, take a second and say a prayer before you eat your meal. And just showing others around you that you love God and that you're looking to God can make a huge difference. You may not realize it, but that little act of saying a prayer, saying grace over your meal in a public restaurant, maybe somebody sees that and then they go, man, I've been so far from God. Where am I going? And so let's read this verse again, Philippians chapter 12 verses, or chapter 2 verses 12 through 18. It says, "So then, my dear friends, just as you have always obeyed, not only in my presence, but now even more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. For it is God who is working in you, enabling you both to will and to act for his good purpose. Do everything without grumbling and arguing, so that you may be blameless and pure, children of God, who are faultless in a crooked and perverted generation, among whom you shine like stars in the world. Hold firmly the message of life. Then I can boast in the day of Christ that I didn't run in vain or labor for nothing, but even if I am poured out as a drink offering on the sacrifice and service of your faith, I am glad and rejoice with all of you. In the same way, you also should rejoice and share your joy with me." And that message is so powerful, guys. That message speaks to my heart. I hope it speaks to yours. Remind yourself daily that little things you do can make yourselves into a bright light that shines into the world, that brings others closer to God. And when you do that, you can change the world because God is working in you. And when you realize that and you embrace that, well, you can become the children of God who are faultless in a crooked and perverted generation. So that's where I'll leave it. I say thank you every time at the end here for watching. And if you haven't come here, click the big red subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell for notifications. But that's going to be it for me, folks. I want to say thank you for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.